Welcome to SecedNowUSA.com. Our goal is to explain what is really happening in the United States in easy to understand videos. This video explains why the deficit and the national debt are bankrupting this country. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi Brian. I'm glad we could get together again.
After our meeting yesterday, I wasn't sure I wanted to hear any more. You really scared me.
Yes, I'm scared too. But avoiding these problems won't make them go away. The more we understand about what's really going on, the better off we will be.
Okay. You said on the phone that you had some information on the federal deficit and the national debt. I really don't understand what these are.
Let's start with the deficit. Think of this like your own finances. You get X amount of money to spend each month. If you spend more money than you have, you create a deficit.
Okay, but how can I spend more money than I receive? In order to do that, I would have to charge it on my credit card.
Yes, and each month your credit card balance would grow and grow. When the federal government does this, the amount they owe is called the national debt.
I think I understand. The deficit is created each year that the federal government spends more money than it takes in. This amount is then added to the previous debt.
But with your credit card, you can't just continue to charge more and more each month without making payments. But that is exactly what the government does. How long would your creditors continue to lend you money once they realize that you wouldn't be able to pay it back? That you were simply rolling over the balance each month?
Not very long. But what does that have to do with the federal deficit and the national debt?
For many years the federal government has been spending more money than it takes in. The national debt was relatively tame up until World War II. From World War II until the mid-1970s the national debt leveled out at about $2 trillion. This is a lot of money but was still manageable. Then, the national debt began to balloon. Starting around 1975, the debt began to grow at an alarming pace, until it reached a little over $5 trillion by the year 2000.
What caused the national debt to explode during this time?
It was a lot of different things. Part of it was President Reagan's arms buildup against the communist threat from Russia during the Cold War. But most of it was the result of social programs like the War on Poverty. The federal government vowed that it would eliminate poverty and just continued to throw money at it. Then under President George W. Bush, the federal deficit ballooned to $500 billion per year for 8 years. In total, his administration added $4 trillion to the national debt. When he left office in 2000 the national debt stood at a little over $9 trillion. This far outstripped the government's ability to repay these loans.
But who in their right minds would continue to spend way more money than they earned for 25 years? If my family had done that, they would have been bankrupt years ago.
But it gets worse. Under President Obama, the federal government has been spending $1.3 trillion more than it took in. In just 5 years, the national debt has skyrocketed from $9 trillion to over $17 trillion. By the end of Mr. Obama's administration, it is projected that the national debt will reach $20 trillion. To put that into perspective, President Obama will have created more debt in 8 years than was created in the first 230 years of our country. I know that's difficult to get your head around.
I can get my head around a number with 6 zeros. But 12 zeros is too much to comprehend. How could anyone be that irresponsible? Is there any way we can pay off this debt?
First, we need to put the annual deficit into perspective. The federal government takes in about $2 trillion in taxes each year. That amounts to about $37,500 for each family of 4. At the same time, the federal government is spending over $50,000 per year per family. Therefore, each family is going into debt by an additional $12,500 each and every year.
But, if the federal government is spending $50,000 per year, that is more than the average family earns per year. How is that possible?
Now you are beginning to understand the extent of the problem. Many people believe that the government needs to raise taxes in order to reduce the federal deficit. But, clearly, if the federal government is spending more money than the average family earns, then the government has a spending problem. It is not a taxing problem.
Then why can't we just cut spending? Is Congress that stupid or irresponsible that it can't see the problem?
Most of Congress can clearly see the problem and they know what the solution is. The real problem is that if any congressman votes to cut spending in his district, it would hurt his chances of getting re-elected. In fact, if they don't continue to spend more federal dollars in their district, then they could also lose their jobs.
So, what it comes down to is that our elected officials must spend more money each year in order to get re-elected. And, by doing so, they are bankrupting our country.
Yes. And, if we vote them out of office, their replacements will want to continue to spend more money too. It's like we are in a catch-22 situation. It seems that the only solution is a constitutional amendment which would limit spending and the debt to a percentage of the gross national product. But that is not likely to happen because the very congressmen who feed off this spending are not likely to vote to change it. Besides, there is something even worse that Congress doesn't want to talk about. It's called unfunded liabilities.
Wow! I need some time to think about what we have already discussed. Let me try to digest this information and then we can meet again tomorrow.
I hope you enjoyed this video. SecedNowUSA.com is the most comprehensive website on secession. It covers the right to secede, reasons for secession and what the new country will look like. Our next video will cover unfunded liabilities and why they are bankrupting our country. Please tell all of your friends. We must take action now before the United States implodes.